wanna be my girl.
I did not sleep well last night. I was awake till like 4 in the morning. And a lot of it is because these two kittens would not stop making noise.
Welcome, this is your life now. A wasteland where we all take a vow.
After checking some emails this morning, I had to take my cat Apollo to the vet. This dog there was trying to beef him, but he scared him away. Here are some photos shot on the 16 Pro Max to give you a little bit of a glimpse of his very traumatic experience. Not really, he got treats and he was fine afterwards. Okay, it's currently 10:55 and battery life is at 79%. So with only like, I think got up around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So within 2 to 3 hours, the battery went down a lot faster than I anticipated. There was Spotify, email, and GPS was used to get to the vet and back, and a lot of pictures were taken. I guess maybe that makes sense, but it is going a little bit faster than I had hoped. So my fiance and I hopped onto a phone call to discuss our wedding next year with the venue. If you guys aren't aware, I am actually getting married, so yay me, yay us. And I thought it would be a good idea to take advantage of this time and try out the new call recording feature that is in iOS 18. It works really well. Just take a listen to this.
And then, Taryn, do you want to greet guests at the ceremony, or do you want to be tucked away with Helena?
I guess I'll greet guests. Yeah, I think that
Greet
makes
guests.
more sense. Yeah.
Lovely. They're always happy to see you, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, nice.
So once the call is finished, it saves directly into the Notes app for you to preview and listen back to, and it also does transcribe the entire phone call for you right away, which is really cool. But it does have a little bit of a drawback that I find very annoying. So I've been trying everything on this iPhone to see if I could actually summarize the call recording that was captured from that wedding call that I just did, and it cannot get past just a few lines of summarization before it kind of just times out. To be fair, I am running iOS 18 public beta 18.1. I mean, this is technically the pre-beta, the preview to the beta in October for Apple Intelligence. But a public beta usually is supposed to be usable. Like it's not a developer beta. It is available to the public to use. We'll see. I'm sure Apple will figure it out. But it is something that works flawlessly on Samsung phones, for example. Voice recording on Samsung and summarization works great all the time. So I hope that I can actually see that happen for iPhone. So I want to dive deep into my thoughts on camera control. I've been using it for 2 weeks by the time you're watching this video, and there's a lot of weird stuff. But before we dive into my thoughts about that, we gotta modify this phone just a little bit because we are going to be going on a little bit of an adventure, if there's enough time today, to really maximize what we can do with the iPhone 16 Pro cameras as well. When I say modify, I mean that every year when I get an iPhone, I put a case on it because I am as clumsy as it gets. And our friends over at Moft, who are the official partner of today's video, hooked me up with their minimalist snap case made of incredibly soft and luxurious Movas vegan leather material. I mean it. This thing feels amazing in the hand. I've been using Moft cases for years and I always get compliments and people asking me where to buy them. It has everything I need. Precise cutouts for the new camera control feature, the buttons are solid and clicky, the microfiber lining has been a lifesaver, the lifted camera ring and 3 feet of drop protection is a great touch too, since I drop my phone a lot and Moft cases have always saved it from any damage, giving me that extra peace of mind. The last thing I always like to put on my iPhone is something to carry my ID and bank card, and Moft hooked me up with their new invisible tripod wallet, which allows me to securely store up to 2 cards in here while also doubling as a tripod that can be unfolded within seconds, giving me a variety of different floating modes that I honestly find super useful and convenient day to day. It was actually the exact same thing you saw when I was taking my wedding call earlier, plus I can tap and pay directly from the wallet without ever needing to remove the cards inside. The combo of this case plus the invisible tripod wallet is super slim and minimal. I have no issues fitting this whole setup into my pocket. It is a masterful combo of accessories, so if you want the best of the best for your new iPhone, look no further than Moft. Click the link down below to buy your accessories today. Okay, quick little update. I'm just on my way to finally testing out these cameras, and it is currently 2:18 p.m. Battery life is at 57%, so it's doing okay. I'm a little bit wary if it's going to survive by the very end of the day, but we'll see.
It says the darling
All right, so I just made it to Niagara Falls with my fiance. It's currently 3:48 p.m. Battery life after that car ride ended up getting to 43%. I was taking a bunch of pictures, editing stuff on Lightroom, taking a bit of videos as well. But now we're here in Niagara and we're gonna go ahead and just see what this camera can do. So here are some really beautiful shots initially off the 16 Pro. I am using a LUT from a creator named Patrick. It's his PT160D iPhone Pro RAW LUT. I'll leave a link down below for you guys to download that and check it out. Let's start with camera control. With a single click, it will automatically open up the camera app. An additional click will allow us to take a photo, and holding down the button will let us take videos. Although the video does stop once you let go, which I found to be really weird. If you lightly press, it will bring up the zoom capability, allowing you to swipe up and down to zoom with the camera. So camera control horizontally is a lot easier to use, just because you have both your hands versus when you do it vertically, this is awkward, right? But what I found is that if you use two hands doing it vertically and you have one hand holding the phone and you're just going like this, it actually isn't as bad. Like this is a lot easier to do if you do it this way. The weird thing for me though is that even if you make camera control like usable for yourself, I still find that if you just use the touchscreen, it's faster. Like it is a lot faster and more convenient just to use the on-screen controls than to sort of awkwardly position your fingers to get in these corrections to your photos and videos. If you double tap camera control lightly, it will bring up more camera customizations like exposure, styles, and tone, where lightly pressing into any one of these categories allows us to dial in to the image that we all want from the button. In theory, this is supposed to be a cool idea, making the iPhone feel more like a real camera, but in practice, I have found it to be more cumbersome to use than I would have liked. For example, I can customize the style of the photo that I want, but for me to change the tone, I need to go back to the main menu, go to tone, then adjust. Whereas if I simply touch the screen, I can swipe very easily to the style that I want and use the on-screen dial to not only change the tone, but also the saturation and intensity of the style, both of which you cannot change with only the camera control button. We only get access to tone, which I found kind of odd. Some other things worth pointing out as well is the entire menu on camera control is also accessible via touchscreen, which makes sense, it's on the screen, but again, it adds a little layer of confusion for me as now I have way too many ways to do the same action. You can also reroute this button to open up another camera app instead in the settings, such as Instagram, which is kind of cool. Oddly enough, Apple doesn't let you use this button to open up anything else, which I understand, it's called camera control, so it lets you only open camera apps, but it feels a little restrictive as it would have been cool to give users the freedom to open up any app with this if they choose. Also, if you go deep into the accessibility settings, you can customize camera control even further, such as customizing the amount of force needed to activate it, either making it lighter or firmer. I've personally found making it lighter makes it slightly easier to use. I was having trouble getting used to the default setting. Okay, so I think it's time that we actually dive into what these cameras are and speak to them more specifically. You've been seeing photos and videos throughout the video, but let's actually talk about what these are. So we are getting a new 48 megapixel fusion camera on the main sensor and a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera, as well as the same 12 megapixel telephoto that we've seen in the previous iPhone 15 Pro from last year. Starting with the main lens, iPhones continue to blow me away on what's possible on here. Apple wasn't very clear on how much better the main lens is specifically, but things are looking really good and consistent from my testing. I spent a lot of time playing with the new Photographic Styles, which Apple says isn't just a basic filter, but a way for us to adjust how the camera processes colors, skin tones, and shadows. There's 5 undertone settings that allow you to really hone in on your preferred skin tone and appearance of the subject, in addition to 9 aesthetic mood-based styles that affect the entire photo and not just the skin tones. Specifically for the undertones, I've gravitated to rose gold and gold. I actually like how the photos turn out in this style. Apple is giving us a lot of control here by allowing us to dial in the exact look that we want with the D-pad style slider that affects both tone and color, and below you can adjust the intensity of the style itself. I haven't made a lot of use yet of the moods as they are a little bit too intense for my taste, but don't take my word for it. I think a lot of people are going to love these new styles and level of control over their photos. This is never going to be as complex and sophisticated as something like Lightroom, but it's not trying to be. I think Apple just wants to give its users more control over their photos, all within the camera app built in, and I think they actually did a pretty good job. Oh, also, you can take a photo in one style, then if you want to undo it and change it, you can. Like, you're not locked into your original choice, which is awesome to see. If you're wondering, these new photographic styles do not work with older iPhone photos that are not from the iPhone 16 lineup, as Apple has actually changed its imaging pipeline in the new iPhones to make all of this stuff possible. As for the 48 megapixel ultra-wide lens, which, a quick reminder, make sure you enable ProRAW to get the maximum quality out of this, I do see a noticeable improvement here. Everything looks a lot sharper and pops more than it used to for my 15 Pro Max, so I'm really happy to see that Apple updated this lens and actually made it even better. My only gripe is that it still feels lackluster in low light performance. I avoid this lens like the plague anytime it's dark. It just doesn't give me the results I'd like to see for me to want to use it in darker and harsh environments. As for the 5x telephoto, it continues to look great. It's one of my favorite lenses for capturing the environment around me, as you get such a unique perspective that looks awesome in my opinion. Other things worth mentioning is Apple added a new ProRAW format that takes up less space on your phone, with JPEG XO lossy being 55 megabytes smaller than JPEG lossless, so I can see a lot of people wanting to leverage this to save some space.
Also, something that I find interesting that Apple is doing that is different from like Samsung and from Google is that they're not actually letting their users add things into their photos that didn't actually happen. If you look at Samsung, for example, you can draw in things that were not in the photo before, and you can turn that photo into something else that didn't actually happen. Apple is taking a different approach with that, which I find very interesting. It kind of raises the debates on, you know, what is a photo at the end of the day when we have all these AI tools. I wouldn't say Apple is totally against AI, because we do have the ability to obviously remove things from our photos with Apple Intelligence, and you could argue that those things didn't happen either, but it is an interesting kind of take, and I wonder, you know, what do you guys think? Do you guys want to be able to draw stuff into your photos? Personally, I don't really care for that stuff. Anytime I see that on Samsung phones or other Android phones, I don't really care for it. It's been a long day for this 16 Pro Max, and right now it's actually at 8%. It's 5:51 p.m. I've been taking so many photos, videos. I've been putting this thing through its paces, and it's about to probably die for the day very soon. Let's see how long 8% can last me from now until it dies.
An unforgettable adventure through the halls and...
I don't think I'm ever going to do that. Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 1st, and I've been awake for a couple of hours now. Battery life on the 16 Pro Max is at 88%, which is actually a little bit quick. Like, all I did was listen to music when I showered, kind of browse through a few emails here and there. Like, I didn't do a whole lot, and I'm already down 12% in about 2 hours. I should have made mention in this video that I am on the iOS 18.1 public beta, so I'm not on the most stable version of iOS, so that could be why the battery life isn't that good. But right now I'm just on a walk outside in this gloomy day. Sometimes I get carried away and I go on these walks to just kind of decompress, and I still manage to spend time going on emails and do some work, but because there's just a lot of things I want to accomplish in the next couple of months, and if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. I don't know if you guys can see or not in this video, but it is very messy in my home right now. Very embarrassed about it, but when it's a mess, it's because I've just been frantically working all the time that I haven't made time to kind of tidy up. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. And as I do that, we're gonna focus on the iPhone, focus on the display,
and the overall design and how I feel about Apple's decisions here. So when it comes to the design of this phone, starting with the color, I honestly have a love-hate relationship with desert titanium. Some days I love it, and other days I am in deep regret with my decision. The days I like it are when the lighting can accentuate the golden accents of the phone very well, whereas on most days, the phone honestly looks like a very pale sandy pink color that's bit too feminine for my taste. If you pay close attention to the camera rings of the titanium sides of the phone, that's the only aspect of it that I'd say truly gives off that gold desert look. If I could do my purchase over again, I'd get a white titanium Pro Max, as I did receive a 16 Pro in this color from Apple for review purposes, and I feel like it looks way more luxurious and fits my style better than desert titanium. I do wish Apple would just give us Pro users more fun colors like the teal iPhone 16. It looks incredible. I'm slowly getting tired of the Pro phones only being shades and not these bold, fun colors you find on their more affordable offerings.
For people who have never actually owned a titanium Pro Max from Apple before, this would have started back in the 15 Pro series from last year, I want to let you know that this phone feels really good in the hand. It's a lot lighter. It's not anywhere near as heavy as like previous large iPhones from the past. Because I know a lot of you guys watching this video, you probably haven't purchased the 15 Pro, so you don't even know what this would feel like day to day, but I can tell you, if you want to go for the larger size, it's gonna feel really good in the hand. Also, as someone who's been using a lot of Samsung devices for the past year now, I really appreciate that with the 15 Pro Max, the edges are very contoured. If you take a look there, they're nice and smooth. So when you're holding the phone, it's not attacking your hand. It's almost like hugging it in a way that is comfortable. Whereas with the Samsung S24 Ultra, don't get me wrong, I love this phone. I've kept it, I haven't sold it. Like, it is probably my favorite Android phone of all time. But when I have it in the hand, you can really see like it kind of like stabs into it in a way. Like it doesn't hug my hand. It's more like fighting against it because of how sharp these corners are. Okay, so something that is very disappointing for me with the 16 Pro Max actually has to do with the USB-C port on the bottom here. So we're getting USB 3 speeds, which, I mean, okay, to be fair, it is faster than what you'd get on the iPhone 16. Oh, I almost dropped this phone. It's faster than what you'd get on the 16 and all older iPhones. And honestly, I'm kind of praying for anybody that has to transfer big files off of the 16 and older because that's going to be very slow. But with the iPhone 16 Pro Max and I believe the 15 Pro from last year, we are getting USB 3 speeds. And while that is a step up for a phone that is marketing ProRes video, like someone like me, a professional, I want to use that. So I use and I film a lot of ProRes video on my iPhone. And the end result is that when I want to get these files off of my iPhone to my MacBook, the process is so slow. Like it can take like 10, 15 minutes, especially if you have like really large files. I mean, I know that doesn't sound like a long time, 10, 15 minutes, you can't wait that long, Taryn, but it's the fact that there are faster things that exist. Like with the iPad Pro, it has Thunderbolt. Like this beautiful device here can handle speeds even faster than USB 3. I don't think Apple is deliberately not giving us Thunderbolt on iPhone. I think that they might have just not figured it out yet. Maybe it's a technical thing. Like, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but it doesn't feel like Apple to hold that back. And I know someone's gonna comment down below that, Taryn, you can plug in an SSD into the iPhone and then you're able to, film directly to that. And then you can bypass the slow speeds of the phone and just go from iPhone to SSD and then SSD to Mac. Like that is actually a real solution. But I love just being able to film just with the phone. And a lot of the times when I decide to film on my iPhone, it's spur of the moment stuff. It's not something that I just deliberately decide to do. So I'm not gonna have an SSD plugged in and tapped onto my phone at all times. So that's why I would love to see Thunderbolt
next year. Anyways, I'm starving, so I headed downtown and I purchased a burger for myself to eat while I talk about the display of the new iPhone. The 16 Pro Max is actually the largest iPhone Apple has ever made, clocking in at a total of 6.9 inches. I've read that a lot of people online find this iPhone to be too big and are planning on switching over to the smaller 16 Pro, which has also actually grown in size to 6.3 inches.
So I personally think that this phone isn't too big, getting the 16 Pro Max, but I am in that era of wanting larger phones right now, because I did upload recently a review of the Samsung Z Fold 6, and I really did love that phone. Link will be in the description for you guys to go ahead and check out that video. Apple also did say that they did also improve the glass of the Pro Max as well, about 50% increased toughness for the ceramic shield. I'm not gonna be testing that, we're just gonna take their word for that.
Also, I will be in the minority here, but I can notice right away how much slimmer the bezels are in comparison to the 15 Pro Max that I had, even if it's just fractions of a difference. It's really made this phone look super immersive to me. The older the iPhone you're using to compare to this 16 Pro Max, the more significant the difference becomes. Like, look at this phone comparison between the 14 Pro. It makes it look ancient, to be honest.
Okay, so another quick thought that I actually had about the 16 Pro Max is with the camera control button. I think I was a little bit too harsh about it, because just being out here in downtown in Oakville and actually just using that button to take those pictures, or at least to launch the app, has been convenient. Because when you think about it, your hand, when you are grabbing your phone, it kind of naturally goes to that button better than how the action button would do that for you. So I do appreciate it for that aspect, but actually using the button to like zoom in or to change your actual camera settings, to dial those in, I don't really like those. So that's still something I need to get used to, but just for actually launching the app, it's been better. And then action button, we can now reroute that to basically do something else, whatever you want. So your shortcut or anything. Okay, battery check at 6:04 p.m. The battery is at 38%, so not too bad considering I didn't use the phone too much. I did take pictures and videos and whatnot, but it has pretty much been idle. If I check my screen on time is 4 hours and 6 minutes, which is actually pretty good considering that there's almost 40% left. So actually, yeah, battery life was pretty good today. So I missed the train this morning. I was running late. I was just frantically looking for things because I'm going to an event today in Toronto by Best Buy, actually. Do you use iPhone or Android at all, or?
Android, yeah. Oh, this is a basic one. It's like a something.
Oh, Samsung?
Samsung.
Yeah.
We're like group chat. They're like, oh, I don't reply to messages that they're not in green. I'm like, what's that? I still don't know what the heck.
Oh, they don't like the green bubbles.
Man, like he's like working in Saudi right now, and he's like, yo, man, like what you can't. WhatsApp is like restricted email. You need to get an iPhone, man. So you can FaceTime me, you know?
These are the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Press it again.
If you say live stream,
Oh. Press and hold. Now it's recording and I let go. That's crazy.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of getting in the way of creating for me. I rather have, a function that's easier to access rather than fiddling around something and pressing it double times for some of the functions. It's kind of too hard to understand right now for me. But I don't know. We'll see if I like it in the future.
Okay, so that creator event from Best Buy just ended, and oh my goodness, was that was just the craziest thing. It was such a fun event. We got so many things. I got an engraved hair hybrid thing, like engraved in my fiance's name. We got this thing, and then we got this huge duffel bag of just, there is so much tech in here. Like there is apparently like over $1,000 of stuff in here. It's packed with stuff. But the most exciting thing, so this is the Ray-Ban Meta glasses as the new Meta AI, the Wayfair edition. Super excited to try this out. I've just been seeing a bunch of creators use this and I haven't actually had a chance to get one myself, so it was very cool to have Best Buy hook me up with that as well. I know this is an iPhone review, but I think that event was just so cool that I had to show that to you guys in this video to kind of give you perspective of what it looks like to be a tech creator in 2024. Good morning. Good morning. Battery life is at 70% to start for today for the 16 Pro Max. Yesterday was a bit of an abrupt ending, and my apologies. It was just right after that Best Buy event when it ended. I was dead tired. I didn't get any sleep the night before. If I look at my health app, the night before I got 4 hours and 19 minutes of sleep, which was terrible. I ended up hanging out with a couple of friends that night since I was visiting in the city, and I was dead tired during the hangout. Like, just look at that photo of me there. Terrible. But today I got 6 hours and 59 minutes of sleep, so I do feel a lot better today, and we can now refocus our energy on figuring out just how capable this iPhone is in my life. Starting with the Pro audio features. So you might not even know what I'm talking about. This might have just flown under your radar, but these iPhones have incredible microphone technology built in combination with some advanced intelligence stuff that's going on in the phone to basically allow you to mix the audio in a way that sounds just like how is it possible is really kind of the result that I've been seeing so far, and you're gonna see right now exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so right now we are here in McDonald's and you're hearing the audio from the iPhone as standard. And then if we go into the in-frame option, it says here that it's now going to attempt to isolate the voice of the person speaking. Now we're in the studio option. So in this one, it makes it seem like we're recording inside of a professional studio. The last option is cinematic, and it attempts to format my voice like in the movies. And right now you're listening to the standard mode. So I don't know if you can actually even understand what I'm saying or not. Now we're going to be switching to the in-frame option. So again, it's going to focus on the voice that is right in front of the camera. And now you're listening to the studio option where it's going to try to mimic the microphone again, being very close to my mouth. And now we're in the cinematic option. So it's going to isolate my voice onto that one center track like we talked about, and then put the environmental noises in the surround sound. So this is now another environment that you can hear kind of how these audio mixes sound, and you can let me know which one you prefer and how it works in these different settings. Hey, it's me from the future, just editing this video that you're actually watching right now, and I just wanted to throw in some thoughts about audio mix. In McDonald's, it honestly sounded like I was speaking very quiet, but I actually was projecting my voice. It was just the environment was very loud in comparison to how loud that I was speaking, so the audio mix didn't really do a good job there. Outside, if you notice, the audio mix did work better, even though the environment was just a lot louder, because I was raising my voice so loud because of how loud everything was around me. So I think audio mix works best when you are really projecting your voice to the iPhone so that it can actually pick up who is in front of the camera, and then it can do its, advanced intelligence things to manipulate the audio. Will I ever use audio mix? Probably not in any harsh environments outside. I'd probably would only ever use it in a setting like this, or when I'm just in a place where there isn't a lot of interference, because when there is interference happening with the subject speaking, it sounds really bad in my opinion. Okay, now let's talk about the brand new A18 Pro chip, which is Apple's second generation attempt at 3nm technology, which basically means they've made these chips smaller, faster, and more power efficient. This should all translate to a smoother phone experience and longer battery life without the phone slowing down or overheating when you're doing a lot of things on it. From my experience, all of this stuff holds up to be true. My iPhone generally hasn't overheated yet, and it can actually reach peak brightness outside, which I wasn't able to do with my 15 Pro Max last year, as it always did get too hot. For some reason, my app experience and performance on iOS is just generally smoother with less issues than on Android phones. I have no idea why. For some reason, the quality of the developers for the apps that I use are just better on Android or iOS, because my iPhone has way less issues
than when I try to do stuff on my Android. And it's not to say that doing stuff on Android is this like terrible experience and I can't use an Android phone. I use a Samsung phone all the time. This is my favorite, one of my favorite phones I've ever owned. But when I'm talking in aggregate in terms of which type of operating system gives me the most problems, in total, Android has accumulated the most points for that for me personally. So that's one of the big reasons why it's really hard for me to switch away from iPhone because of the app experience that I get on something like the 16 Pro.
Gaming is supposed to be even better this year too. I'm no gamer on my phone, but playing Warzone at max settings looked and ran great. This is all thanks to their improvements in their hardware accelerated ray tracing, dynamic caching, all that technical stuff. It also helps that with iOS 18, the iPhone can go into a game mode that minimizes background activity to sustain these higher levels of performance.
I am so hungry. I cannot wait to eat something right now, but I realized my iPhone is about to die. It's at 2%, it's 5:30 p.m., and I actually ended up being able to kill this phone sooner than when we were at Niagara Falls. I looked into my battery like information. I had 5 hours and 38 minutes of screen on time and 10 hours and 41 minutes of screen idle. Most used apps were Safari, MetaView, which is the stuff like my Meta AR glasses, Call of Duty Warzone, Messenger, Camera. I don't know how I feel about that. That feels a little weak for me today for this phone to be dead. It didn't feel like I used it that much. I don't know really, but again, I am on beta software, so it's kind of my fault. I should just be on regular iOS 18, but I can't help myself. I like to try the new features. Let's heat this up and talk about iOS 18.
To start, I love that we can fully customize our home screen completely by changing icon sizes, going to dark mode, light mode. You can literally do whatever weird creative look you want to go for. I personally opt for something simple though, and larger icons to remove the text below the apps as I think that it looks cleaner. Control Center can be completely overhauled and reshaped to fit whatever quick access controls you want to have upon a single swipe and at any size as well. My favorite one I've added is remote, so I always have an easy way to immediately control Apple TV with a big button just right on my phone. The Photos app has been completely overhauled by the way as well. A lot of people will feel very confused by it as the way you navigate it has changed quite a bit, but you will get used to it and I don't mind it now. With a few words or sentences, you can also create instant memory movies of anything in your library, which I find honestly to be kind of fun to mess around with.
It is getting so gloomy and dark at 7:10 p.m. right now. The biggest change for me, or the thing that I love the most about iOS 18, is the support for RCS messaging now with Android phones. No longer will we have to deal with like clunky messaging between iOS and Android. We get read receipts, we get typing indicators. It's gonna feel like iMessage, except with green bubbles. Android users are still gonna appear as green bubbles in iOS because that's the way things gotta be. Hello. Happy now? You're on the balcony. Not that exciting out here, is it? Nowhere to go. Definitely nowhere to jump. Not going over there.
I went with Pro.
Why?
Because I just think the Pro Max is just way too big for me. I don't have the biggest hands either.
Got
like
it.
this is a 13 Pro, so you know, it was just way too big. I've noticed that if you try to take a photo with the camera control button, most times it's hard to keep the phone still. Like you end up kind of shaking it.
Yeah.
So it's better to just use the on-screen button. And then other things too, like the placement's kind of weird. I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to take some nighttime photography with this iPhone tonight, but I am absolutely starving. So I went to Fortino's, got myself a pizza, and I absolutely devoured that thing, but now I'm ready to dive in. So some quick housekeeping. On the right, you'll see my point of view with the Meta AI Ray-Ban glasses. And then on the left, every time I take a picture, you'll see that final result. So here is the main lens shot, and then we got the ultra wide shot. Quick opinion, I think both of them look okay. The main lens is obviously sharper than the ultra wide. The ultra wide looks kind of soft here. I really love this example because it's so dark here. So here's the main lens shot and an ultra wide shot. I really love this next comparison because it is so dark where I'm standing right now, but both lenses actually came out pretty good here. I'm more impressed with the ultra wide, and you'll find throughout these examples that the ultra
ultrawide actually can perform decently well as long as there's accent lights in the scene. Here I found a little restaurant here in downtown in Oakville, and when you look at these pictures side by side, main lens is always perfect in my opinion, but the ultrawide, it's actually out of focus, and this has happened to me a lot. I get a lot of out of focus pictures with the ultrawide at night. Now I've found myself on this dark bridge downtown, and again, the main lens just stuns me away with how much light it can bring into the photo, but the ultrawide isn't actually bad. Like, it looks a little bit more realistic here because it honestly was dark, whereas I find the main lens sometimes can make it look like it's daytime or almost like twilight hours, even though it's actually like almost pitch black outside. So I actually appreciate the wide lens shot here. Okay, so this stairwell sequence is crazy. It is literally pitch black with very little accent lights. The main lens just comes guns blazing. Like, it looks like not even real life. It does look really good, but the ultrawide again is able to hold its own because there are little bits of light scattered in the real scene, so it's able to get that information that it needs to light the photo properly. I decided to take some macro shots at night, so here are some little close-ups of leaves with a little bit of an accent light. I think these turned out pretty cool. Okay, but this part is crazy. So it is actually pitch black, guys. Like, my meta glasses on the right is the perfect depiction of what I'm seeing, which is basically nothing, and the main lens was able to actually turn this into something, whereas the ultra wide is actually the perfect depiction of what I was seeing, which was basically nothing. But in the real world, like, you're never gonna be taking photos with no light, so do take this comparison with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I wanted to show this because I wanted to show you the big difference between the main and the ultra wide in very extreme conditions. The main lens continues to still be sharper, clearer, and way more vibrant than the ultra wide when you are in harsh, dark environments.
Today is Saturday, October 5th. We are a week into this video, and through everything that you've watched, through all the experiences that we've been through, should you ultimately buy the iPhone 16 Pro Max? So I think to answer this question, we have to stick to the rules that we've always followed with every iPhone release. If you own a really old iPhone and the battery life sucks, you want better cameras, it's slow, it's not performing as well, then obviously you should buy the new iPhone 16, whether it be the 16 Pro, Pro Max, 16 Plus. Go buy the phone. I think I've shown you enough reasons why this is a worthwhile upgrade, especially if you have an older iPhone. I think for the small minority of you who already own a 15 Pro, probably you shouldn't upgrade. You are already getting Apple Intelligence. You already have pretty much comparable camera systems. The performance is more or less the same. I think you should keep your phone. But what about the people in the middle? The people that own the 13 Pro, the 14 Pro? That's an awkward place to be in any iPhone generation when it comes to buying something new, because you're only really a couple years removed from the latest iPhone and your phone probably still feels fine. So I would only say to do the upgrade if your battery life is degraded, like I said, or if you really want those better cameras, because the cameras on this phone, amazing. Amazing. Look at this shot that I just got of myself just standing here. Look at the color grade. Look at how good 4K ProRes looks off of this camera. If you just like to make stuff with your iPhone, whether that just take pictures of your life or create content online, and that's something you're really serious about, I think no matter what iPhone generation you're coming from, you're gonna love the 16 Pro, and you guys should definitely pick it up. I would give it my 100% recommendation. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was a very hard, difficult video to create as a one-man show operation on this channel. So if you can drop a like down below, subscribe, comment hashtag I made it if you did finish this video. Let me know if you guys want more of this type of video, and I can try to do it again with other phones or with the iPhone again and with other products. Anyways, I'll catch all of you guys in the next one. Peace. Are you serious? Oh my goodness, you scared me. It is recording. I literally had a scare that this was not. Yeah, it is. It's red. It's recording. Oh my goodness. I did not want to do that again.